Hello. Hey, Mauricio. Hey, Angela. We'll wait a few minutes, see if anybody else jumps on here before I start. Hello, hello. Yeah, so there's about a 20-second delay, so if you guys ask questions or put anything in the messages, it takes a second for it to come through. I'll try to answer along. I've got a little deal here that mirrors, shows what is happening on the feed, so I can see. Scotty H. Hello. Sean McMahon. Hey, brother. How are you? Long time no hear. Long time no see. I made brisket tonight and actually used one of your knives. From Wagner, Oklahoma? Oh, what is this? Oh, we're going to talk pens. We're going to talk pens tonight. Oh, no, this is just... I wanted a background that was a better color than my drafting table, so I just... This is a canvas bag that was... I was trying to get something that was kind of neutral so you could actually see the pens and their colors and things a little bit better. So, yeah. Now, I'm not going to be painting on the canvas or anything tonight. Flag. Now we can start. All right. Well, it's 8:02, so I'm going to start. We're going to jump right in here and talk about. We're going to go level 9 or 10 nerd tonight. Pen nerd. So I've been collecting pens for a long time. People are always asking me about my pens. I use my pens to sketch all the time. So it isn't just something I collect. I actually do use them. But obviously I'm a collector, and I think I've definitely fit into the category of being called a collector. I have my handy dandy spreadsheet up here on my computer. I've been updating it because I sold a bunch of pens recently. I was trying to thin the herd a little bit, so I wanted to update it, and I'm down to 283 fountain pens. So, almost nothing. At one point, I think I was up in the 350 range. So, thin the herd a little bit. So I started collecting pens when I was in college. My second year of college at OU, and I took a class where we were required to buy a Lamy Safari fountain pen and a sketchbook, and we had to do a sketch every day. And we could sketch anything we wanted. We had to do a sketch in a journal every day, and we had to use the fountain pen. So this is the fountain pen I bought. This is the Patriarch. This is Father Abraham. The Lamy Safari, the red, was the one I bought. So I've had this pen since 1995. So over 31 years. The nibs are a little bit different now on the newer ones. This one's not marked. I think it's a medium nib. So the Lamy Safaris, they come in probably, I could say, hundreds of colors now. Every year they release different color they release different colors, and so I've got. I should have counted how many safaris I have. But anyway, this one's very special to me. He's the patriarch. Yeah, how many's too many? There's never too many. The next one is going to be the last one. That's what I always tell myself. Yeah, and people do ask all the time. They're fascinated by, how many and why, and I'm like, well, I buy what I like. I like if I like the way it looks, I buy it. I don't really care about brand. I've got expensive ones. I've got cheap ones, and everywhere in between. But typically, if I like the way it looks aesthetically, I buy it. And, I'm an architect, I'm a designer, so those are kinds of things that I'm geared towards. So, visual things that I consider beautiful. So Lammies are designed by German. It's a German company. It's been bought now. I don't how much of it's really made in Germany anymore, but... So anyways, yeah, so this guy here, and I got my little labels on him so I can remember, what's what. So I'm going to kind of just walk you through. These are I kind of tried to categorize them, but not 100%, because I'm going to talk a little bit about different feed systems, or different filling systems. But just to talk about more early stuff. So this was one of the early ones I bought. I don't think it was maybe the first 5 or 6 of pens I bought, because I bought several Lamy Safaris right away because they were very affordable. They were $25 or something. But this was one that they had at an A&E supply store here in Oklahoma City, and I loved it. It's metal. It's you can hear it's metal body. It's a Rotring 600, and it's got a really nice steel nib on it, a medium nib. This one does have the converter in it. And so we can talk a little bit I'll talk a little bit later about some of the filling systems. But yeah, this is one of my early ones. And these are, I think, around $100. So, they're in that kind of, depending on, everything's relative, right? So $100 may or may not be, affordable to everyone. But as far as fountain pens go, sub $100 is considered fairly entry level, attainable kind of. And this is a good pen. Rotring, they make a lot of. They started out making drafting materials for architects and engineers. So there's that one. Let's see. I have a black one for architectural certified go working better than the new ones. Yeah, that's the great thing about the Safaris. They're workhorses, man. I mean, you put ink in them and they just go. And you can put any kind of ink in them. You can feed cartridges through them. You can feed converters with different inks. I've never had one give me any trouble. They're just, they're just kind of workhorses. They just work. They don't clog. They're a steel nib, so it's not like it's a very flexible nib, but they just work, man, and they're great. They're great for traveling with them because, again, they're not super expensive. So, if you were to lose it or break it or drop it or something, you're not going to lose sleep over it probably. But, they're great. They're great pens. And so, yeah, this is probably the cheapest pen I have. I bought this, again, around the same time when I was getting into the pens. And this one, I think I paid like $6 for it. It's a Reform, which I don't even know. I mean, I haven't done any research on it. I don't even know if the brand's still around. It is a piece of crap. It is a piece of crap, but it writes really nicely. You can see on the nib here, the paint. It's a painted nib, the steel nib that's been painted. You can see on this half the paint is chipped off over years. Again, I've had it for 30 something years. Used it a lot. But again, it just goes to show you that, again, this thing's cheap. I mean, almost borderline disposable. But it writes really well. I still use it from time to time. I bust it out every now and then and put Smink in it and draw with it. So, very cool. And I like yellow. Yellow is my favorite color. I've got a lot of yellow pens. You'll see that. So, there's that guy. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about different filling mechanisms. So let me grab a couple of cartridges here. So there are for most of the modern pens, there are a couple of filling mechanisms for these guys. I'm just going to use this Safari as an example. So this pen, and most pens will take either a converter, which is this here, this little item, and every brand makes their own. They're more or less the same. They differ a little bit sometimes in the diameter of the size of the piece that goes into the pen. So if they come with one, you need to kind of try to keep it with that pen. But a lot of them are kind of international, and they're kind of interchangeable. And so with these, what you do, and I'm not going to ink these up. I don't want to make a mess. I just wanted to go through and show the pens. But with these, what you do, it's a piston. You put this down in the ink bottle, and you twist, and you can see as you twist, the piston draws up. It draws ink up inside of it. You pull it all the way up. Wipe it off, insert it in the pen, and then you close it up and you use it. That's one way to use it. This is great. You have to use bottled ink, right? So it's a little bit messier. But the great thing about bottled ink is there's waterproof ink, there's colored inks, there's, the sky's the limit. You can get, the ink is its own rabbit hole. So there's that. And then there are cartridges. This one is not actually the cartridge that goes in the Lamy. And I thought I had one. I do. I just don't have it here with me, and I should have been prepared. But these are pre-packaged disposable cartridges that have ink in them. And this one would fit in this form. So they go in the same way the converter goes in. You stick it in there, and you can kind of feel it. Again, I'm not going to put it in there because I don't want to ink it up. But you you press on it, it kind of snaps into place. And then you close it up, and you use the ink until this runs out of ink. You take it out and you throw it away. So these are disposable. They come in boxes, 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever. And again, multiple sizes of cartridges. This one is what's called an international cartridge, and they are pretty standard. They go in just about, they go in a lot of pens. I don't want to put a percentage on it, but they go in a lot of pens. The international cartridges fit. There's a few brands that have kind of bespoke cartridges that fit them, pilots. There's several. So again, when you buy a pen, sometimes they come with a converter, sometimes they don't. The Safaris used to. They don't anymore. Now they send you an ink cartridge, and you can easily buy them online. They're cheap. I think you can get a converter for a few dollars, $5, $6 or something. And I have several of them. And again, most of them are fairly interchangeable. So once you have several, you can kind of do that, any interchange them. So that's the two main feeds or filling systems for modern pens, the cartridge or the converter. I tend to use the converter most of the time on mine because I like to use waterproof ink, and because I paint on top of it, and I just like the waterproof ink. It's also the one I use is very black ink, which sounds funny, but there's some are more black than others. But this De Atramentis Document Ink Black is a really good black. It's not the blackest black I've ever seen, but it's great, and it's also permanent, and it's made for fountain pens. I talked about that before. If you want to use permanent ink in your pens, you need to make sure it is for fountain pens. Don't use just typical India ink or any kind of permanent ink that doesn't specifically say it's made for fountain pens, because it will turn into concrete and you can't get it out and you'll ruin your pen. So this is one I really like, the Noodler's Black. And again, you have to make sure, I've got ink on this here, but make sure it says Noodler's Black. There's only one that is waterproof. This is also very good black. And then one of the other ones I use, I don't like this one quite as much because it takes a while to dry. This is Platinum Carbon ink, and it's also black. I only use black ink, so just works better for drawings for my taste. But this is a good ink too. Again, the only thing I really don't like about this one is it does take it a little while to dry. So if you're gonna draw or sketch and then go over it with any kind of watercolor or anything else, you need to wait a little bit for it to dry. So that's a couple of things on ink and fillers. So then there's some other more kind of old school or more exotic filling systems. So this is a pen from the 1920s. It's not anything fancy. It's made by the Eagle Pencil Company. You can see it's kind of I found this at a antique store. But this one, so these don't come apart. They don't screw apart and you fill them. This one has what's called a lever filler. And you can see the little, very cleverly named, right? Look this little lever right here. What you do is you put the pen down to the nib down in the ink, and you pull this lever. You can see it. And what it's doing is it's pressing down. There's a sac inside here, or a reservoir. And what it's doing is it's pressing down on that sac and making a suction. So it's depressing it. And then when you let up, it sucks the ink up inside of it. So these are ones that if it has ink in it, then and you take this and you squeeze it, it'll blurt out. So that's a lever filler. Again, these were really popular for years and years and years. 20s probably all the way up to. I think they started doing the cartridges and converters probably in the late 60s, 70s. But I always remember when I started getting into fountain pens, my grandparents, who were, the greatest generation age, right? So when I was doing this in the mid 90s, they were in their 60s or whatever, and they hated. They were like, oh, fountain pens, those things leak. They're terrible because they were remembering back when they were kids in the 30s and 40s, and they were a little bit unwieldy. They did leak. They were also, because the filling systems weren't as good. So the modern pens definitely are a lot safer for your clothing and stuff like that. So yeah, lever filler, pretty cool. There are other ones, but I'm just going to kind of hit the ones these are pens that I have. And I don't have a lot of vintage pens. Most of my pens are modern pens, but I do have a few vintage ones, and that's why I wanted to show these. This is a Parker Vacuumatic from the 1940s. I picked this one up at a pen show, and actually had paid a guy that I know that's a pen guy that refurbishes pens. So he refurbished it. He went in and replaced the bladder and the feed system. But this one is what's called a button filler. And you can see it unscrews, and back here you've got this button. And it does kind of the same. These are all kind of working on the same principle, right? Like there's a piston inside of here, and it depresses and draws the ink up. These are the ones that you probably see, like if you ever saw like Three Stooges or any of these deals where they squirt people with their fountain pens. That's what they're doing. They're pressing the button. So that's a button filler. This is a very, very nice pen. Again, 1940s. You can see the design, the Parker crest there. The body's very cool. Resin. This very cool kind of mosaic or linear mosaic pattern. Nice. A nice little detail on the ring. So button filler. This is a modern pen, but it uses a vintage filling system. This one is called a crescent filler. This is a Conklin pen, which they make really good kind of mid-level, kind of pens. So the crescent filler, again, these all kind of work on the same principle, right? There's a sac or a reservoir inside there that you depress, and it pushes the air out. You let it go, and it sucks the ink back in. So this one, you can see there's a little crescent here, and you can't press it, but you turn this little slide. Oh, it's going to be difficult. Try and do this in the camera. Yeah, I turn the slide there into that little slot, and then you can see this depresses. And so again, you depress it, put it in the ink, let go, draws the ink up inside, and that's how you fill it. Then you want to make sure once you get the ink in it, you turn this back like that so that you don't accidentally, depress this and spit ink everywhere. So again, this is a modern pen, but the crescent filler filling system is definitely one that's been around for a long time. Again, popular in probably the 20s through or earlier than that, through the 50s and 60s. And then a spin-off of that, this one is also a Conklin. This one is kind of it's a side button filler. So like the other one, I had the button on the base, the bottom. This one's got it in the middle. It works kind of similarly to the crescent filler. As you can see, it's got this little slot that you rotate. Well, let's leave it there. So right here you press it, and then you rotate it here. You can't press it. So this would be the closed position, open position. Draw ink. So yeah, and these there are these little buttons like this. You do have to do it 2 or 3 times to get a lot of ink up in it. That's the other thing, is these are hard to get a lot of ink into them because it just has that little small travel distance, and the sack inside is not very big. So this is a side button filler. Again, this is a Conklin. This is a modern pen. This is a current day pen. But using the old school filling system. And again, the good thing about these modern pens, they even have the old school filling systems. Again, they don't leak. They're very well made. The seals inside of them are all new. The little rubber seals, little gaskets, they're all new, so they don't leak. Unless you're abusing them somehow or something. And then another modern pen that has an interesting filling system. This is a TWSBI Eco Demonstrator. TWSBIs are great pens. Again, entry level price point, $35 to $50, I think. Really good pens. They have steel nibs. We'll talk a little bit more about nibs in a minute, but a steel nib, nice big nib. They hold a ton of ink. You can see the ink. This is a demonstrator, which means it's clear, so you can see inside of it. And so you can see what happens here is you unscrew the back of the pen, and it releases this, and you pull like that. And that doesn't actually draw the ink in, because if it drew the ink in, you couldn't use your pen like this, right? It's a little out of position. So what happens then is when you take it like this, you put it in the ink, you draw this back, and then you depress it, and it sucks the ink up in it, and it's actually kind of really cool to watch. And then you tighten this down, so you're not spilling ink everywhere, and that's how that works. So this is a piston filler that's kind of a pressure. So it seems counterintuitive, but when you think you want to pull it like this to pull the ink in, but that's not actually what pulls the ink in. It's this reverse vacuum. Arkansas Pen Show. Yeah, I have not been to the Arkansas Pen Show. I've been to the Dallas one several times. The Arkansas one is on my list. It's just at a time of year when, for whatever reason, I just never have been able to go. But I've heard it's really good. I've heard it's also quite a bit smaller than the Dallas one. But yeah, pen shows, Scotty H. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. They're a great place to go to buy, look, see, test. Oh man, I mean, anything you can talk about nerding out. Pen shows are great. There's people that make pens. There's nib grinders. There's people with inks and paper, handmade paper, journals, books. I mean, the sky's the limit. And the cool thing is, again, is most of the people have things set up where you can test the pens. You can dip them in ink them and test them, so you can test different nib thicknesses: fine, medium, broad, double broad, oblique, extra fines. They do custom grinding for the nibs, so it's you can get way down into the weeds. But yeah, pen shows are a lot of fun. All right, and then the last one, talk about filler system. This one's about as basic as it gets. This is a modern pen, Moonman Mahjong. It's a stubby little guy, very strange pen. The only way I can really use it is if you post it, which is by putting the cap back on to hold it. Otherwise, it's a little short for my hands. I kind of have, I guess, regular size hands, but this is too small for me. But that's how I have to use it. But this pen fills what they call a dropper filler. So you just unscrew the body and then unscrew the nib feed, and this is where you fill the ink. And you use a handy dandy eyedropper, and so you stick it in the ink, you pull it out, you squirt, you repeat, squirt, and you fill the body of the pen with ink. And then you close it up, and you can see here, there's a little rubber seal here, there's a rubber seal down there. And so, obviously very carefully, like holding it vertical, not to leak. You screw it back in, make sure you get it on there tight. And that's how it does the ink, holds the ink. Kind of bizarre. So it's just gravity fed, as long as you're pointing it down, it's, you get ink. So, and there's a lot of pens that actually have that option or a cartridge option. This one doesn't. It's just you only can fill it with the filler or with the eyedropper. And then there's always the oldest of the old school. These two, I'll show these two at the same time. I found these in an antique store, and again, just looking for things that I thought were really cool. So this one, you can see the size of it here. I mean, it's, this one is an Eagle Pencil Company also, which is the same brand as the orange one I showed earlier. This one. Best I can tell, this is from the 1920s, but it unscrews and you just post it. But it's a dip pen. That's all. You just dip it and you write, and you can see it's quite tiny. Has this little loop on it. Probably at one point it probably had a little lanyard that people would put them around their neck and carry them with them. But you can just see it's just this hilarious little tiny thing. It's very cute. It's got this kind of I think this is probably Bakelite, rather than they used a lot of that back then, which is supposedly like toxic. I guess if I like melted it and licked it, it might kill me. You gotta die of something, right? I don't do that anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. I think it's probably off-gassed all it's going to from 1920 till now. I think I'm probably safe. And then this one is very cool, and I think because it's hard to maybe tell, but it is made out of wood. It is wood, and it is a dip pen. And the dip pens, again, some of them, the nib comes off like this, and you can see the body of the pen. It's got these little kind of crescent-shaped deals, and you just slip the nib back in there. You have to be careful not to stab yourself. It can be done, and it hurts. But you just push the nib back in there. And so this one, again, is just a dip pen. There's no feed system. There's no filling system. Again, this one, as best I can tell, is from the 20s. But the whole pen is wooden, except for the cap, obviously, or the clip, and it slips on and off. I'm not going to pull it off because I don't want to mess it up. But this little guy is really cool. It's very light. It's like super light. So those are some of my vintage ones. And I have one last vintage one, well, not the last vintage one, but a couple more. This one is really a bizarre one. These are they're just called Japanese jumbo pens. And there's all kinds of rumors on the internet. These were made around World War II, the 40s. There's a bunch of rumors that these were made for people that had arthritis, and because it was easier to grip because it's big. And that's one of those kind of urban legend things. That's not really why they made them. They were made as a novelty. That's why they're kind of like a caricature. But again, they're really fun. They're so oversized and bulky and hilarious looking, and the scale just looks wrong. I mean, it looks like it's, again, almost like a caricature. This one I've never inked. I don't think it works. And you can see here it says jumbo pen made in Japan. And it does have a 14 karat gold nib. But this one, I don't know actually how this feed system works because there's like zero resistance here. And so I'm assuming it's kind of like the TWSBI that's got the reverse. You pull it out, you press it in, and it draws ink up, and then you screw it down. I'm kind of afraid and it's sealed. I can't unscrew it, so I have no idea to test it without probably making a huge mess. So I bought this just as a novelty for part of my collection. But yeah, it's again, it is just a novelty. It's hard to get this threaded right. It cross threads really easy to get yeah, there it goes. So that guy, lots of fun. You have a jumbo? Yeah, I actually have another one that I just bought that's on its way. It's been like 3 weeks. It's coming from Japan. That has been refurbished and writes, and so I'm kind of excited to when I get it to test it and see how ridiculous it really is. All right, so now to kind of shift gears a little bit, one more vintage one, and then so this one I'm very excited about. My name is Jeff Parker. So Parkers I've always liked. I don't sadly, I really don't like a lot of the Parker pens, especially the modern ones. They're very kind of dressy, and I just, it's not really what I go for. But this is a dual fold, Parker dual fold. The dual fold's kind of their like flagship pen. They have every year they release different ones. This one's from 1927. It's called the Orange Parker Duofold. Again, I bought this one at an estate sale, and I sent it to a guy that refurbishes pens, and he refurbished it for me. So the nib was mangled. Somebody, I don't know what they had done to it, but it was mangled. So he put a new nib on it. So this is a modern nib. It's this period correct. It's a reproduction of the Duofold, but it's a new nib, new modern nib. And then this one is a button filler, also like a couple of the previous ones. So, yeah, you can use it like that. I use this one quite a bit, actually. This one's very fun. It writes really nice. Again, it's a gold nib, so it's got a little flex to it. It's just really cool. It's just a really cool vintage. Something that I've always enjoyed. This design. All right. So now to shift into a little bit of something different. I do have three. Well, I have a Mont Blanc pencil, but these are my only three Mont Blanc pens that I have. Mont Blancs are kind of like, it's kind of like buying a Mercedes. It's a great product, and it is no doubt better than other stuff that is cheaper, but it is also gets massively overpriced for what it is. You are buying the brand. You're buying the name Mont Blanc. Everybody knows what a Mont Blanc is. They see people even don't know pens or anything. They just know fashion or decor or whatever. They see the star, they know it's a Mont Blanc. It's kind of like the Cadillac symbol or Mercedes symbol. It's recognizable. People see it. That being said, these three that I do own, I did a lot of research. I tested pens. These three are fantastic. They're beautiful writers. They're obviously, I think, very beautiful pens. So this one is the Mont Blanc Bohème. And funny story about this one, I'll tell you a quick funny story. So I bought this pen probably 20-something plus years ago. So I was working in an office. I'd been out of school for just a little while, and I got a bonus. I got a bonus for like $750, which was a lot of money. And I'd been wanting this pen, and there was a Mont Blanc store out at the mall here in Oklahoma City at Penn Square. And so I knew what I wanted, and I went out there, and I walk in, and there's this guy in there. And of course, he's got this suit on, and the attitude. And I walk in, and I was like, I want to look at the Mont Blanc Bohème. And he bows up and kind of gives me like this, like Mr. Belvedere kind of voice and attitude. And he goes, "Sir, that is a $500 pen." And I was like, "Yeah, so?" And he's like, oh, and he puts on these white gloves like a dick. And he goes over to the case and he pulls this thing out like it's Excalibur and like reluctantly hands it to me. And so I dipped it and I drove it a litall bit, and I'm like, okay, all right. And I was like, all right, I'll take this one. And he's like, well, yeah. And his attitude totally changed. And I was like, man, dude, you work retail at the frickin' mall, and you're giving me, for all you know, I'm a damn millionaire. But anyway, I thought it was a funny story. He really gave me some attitude until he figured out I wanted to buy the pen, and then he totally changed. So I digress. So this pen is really cool. You unscrew it, and it's like, where's the nib? Well, you twist, and there's the nib. It comes out, kind of snaps into position. And then the way this one feels is the cartridge goes back here. This clicks open like that. You insert the little cartridge, and it does take one of these international cartridges. You stick it down in there, you close it up. Snap it back into place, and you go to town writing. The only thing that's a little bit of a drawback with this one is, again, there's like an extra step. If you pull it out to write with it, you gotta put the nib out. And yeah, you want one of these, Tommy? You can have this one for. I'll sell it to you real cheap. It's a beautiful nib. Nice pen. This was the next one that I got. I got this about 2 years ago. I think my wife found this. Actually, it's used. This is the Mont Blanc Meisterstück 149. This is kind of the big pen, the biggest pen that Mont Blanc makes. I mean, you can see it here. It's almost like a cigar lengthwise. It's very it's got big diameter, big gauge, and beautiful nib. I mean, look at the workmanship on the nib and the carving. It's a little bit hard to see, but if you can see right here, there's these slotted windows. You can see that actually is looking inside the pen, and you can see the filling, or see if there's ink in it. And this one fills. It has an internal piston, so you loosen it like this, and it'll stop. So that means you've drawn the piston all the way back to here, or pushed it all the way down, and then you put it in the ink bottle, and you twist like this, and it draws the ink back up in it until it gets back to that closed position right there, and then that's how you got ink in this one. Beautiful pen. This thing writes like butter. It draws so much. It's just so nice to draw with. I've been trying lately, last several years, to do some journaling, and this one a lot of times is one I go to when I write, because it just is such a smooth writer. So that's the Mont Blanc 149. And then this is the Mont Blanc Star Walker. This one that you can see on the cap here has got this little acrylic clear dome with the star. I don't know if you can see. If you can see that blue. It's so nice. Look at that. So that's the Star Walker pen, or the design, and again, just gorgeous. I mean, one thing you can say about the Mont Blancs, they are very pretty pens, very very well designed. And then this one, I believe, I don't have it takes a converter or a cartridge, but so those are a couple of the Mont Blancs that I do have. Very nice. So a few of the Lamys that I have that are not Safaris. We'll start with these two. So these two are both Lamy 2000s, which is the only pen that is in MoMA in New York. So these are kind of considered Bauhaus, like high, like ultimate of kind of Bauhaus German design. And again, these are the same pen, obviously one in stainless steel. This one's quite rare, and I'm not gonna lie to you, quite pricey. The black one is not cheap either, but easy to find. Modern pens, and again with an internal piston filling system. So you draw it back, stick it in the ink, and then pull the ink into it. And you can see how nicely that seam. I mean, look how well crafted that is. And the clip there, the cap has got this very nice. You can see here, there's this very tiny little nub, right? Look, tab right there, and that happened just bump. Very nice. Clip kind of has a little spring-loaded action to it. Yeah, so then this is the black one. The nib is called partially hooded nib. So it means the nib is partially hooded here by the body of the pen. So the rest of the nib is up in here. You can't see it. Just part of the design. And then one of the other Lamys that I really love, again, talking about fantastic writers. This is the Lamy Persona. One thing I like about this one is the way the clip articulates. It's like, you see again, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that when I see pens that I geek out. Let's see what's flag saying. Oh yeah, I don't have the calligraphy nib. Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. You can get different nibs on all these pens. You can swap the nibs out. Yeah, they're not cheap. The gold nibs especially, not cheap. This one has a gold nib on this one. This is an 18 karat, which is pretty soft. And so the nibs, we talk about nibs a little bit. There's a lot of different nib materials. There's steel, and that's kind of what you're going to find in most of your kind of entry level, kind of everyday pens. And they're fine. They're fine nibs. They're a little stiff. You don't get a lot of flexibility out of them. so it's a little tougher to get line variation. There is gold, which is kind of the next step up. That's, you know, considered like more luxury, more finer, high end. You know, you're not going to get a gold nib pen for less than probably $150 or $200. Yeah, but the gold nibs are obviously, you know, they're going to last longer than the steel nib, but they are more flexible. They're softer, just a higher quality material, obviously. And then there's titanium, which is very nice, very flexible, a little more expensive. And then there's some iridium nibs that are kind of more like between the steel and the gold. I like kind of all of them. The gold nibs are pretty hard to beat. They're just very they're really responsive. This one is a great rider. Again, it's piston filler or converter filler. Cool design, the rib design, kind of like a column. Again, I love the cap and I love the way the clip articulates. So that's the guy, the Lamy Persona. He's fun. All right. So a few other kind of some kind of more unique stuff. I say unique just in the way the pens are designed. So this is an Omos 360. Omos is a very good brand. Again, considered probably kind of more designer, high end. But this, as you can see, is triangular body, very pretty, nice. This is a kind of crescent moon shape of the clip. This one is a 18 karat gold nib also, and this one, the way it feeds or filler is interesting. So you unscrew the back here, and you pull it out, and there's this hollow tube here, and you unscrew this little piece of metal at the very end, and you can see there's a blank cartridge in here. That's to take up the space, and then you put in this cartridge, and then you screw this back in, and then, you know, insert it into the pen. So this one only takes cartridges. And as cool as it is, visually, because it is cool, it's really hard to write with because the shape is just bizarre. It doesn't fit my hand. I don't know, you know, everybody's different, but it's very awkward to hold. But, you know, beautiful. And, you know, this one is also an Omos. This one's called an Omos Emotica. This one does have a titanium nib on it, and this one is, again, one of my favorites to use and draw and write with. It's very smooth. The body is this kind of rubbery resin. And again, this one I think has a converter. But the kind of the coup de grace on this pen is the clip. And you can see it's like, oh, that's really nice, but check this out. Watch this. Oh, you kidding me? It's a dang kickstand, man. How freaking awesome is that? Look at that thing. I mean, it's so impractical. It's so stupid, but it's so awesome. Yeah. So, Omos Emotica. But that titanium nib, fantastic. Another Lamy. This is called the Dialogue 3, and the reason I grabbed this one is, again, just the interesting way the nib. This is a retractable nib, so you can see here this side. Let's try to scoot up here. When you screw this, you see how this thing starts. It rotates back, and out pops the nib. So very kind of fun. The flaw to this one is it dries up really quick. This doesn't seal well. It doesn't seal as well as like a regular cap would, so it dries up really quick. Terrible. But anyway, I better speed up. This is a Paraphernalia Revolution. Stupid looking thing. Look at this thing. It's ridiculous. But you pull it out like that. That's the actual pen, and then you can post it back in the body of this thing, this triangular tripod thing. It's completely impractical. This one does take bespoke cartridges because it's super thin. I don't use this one very often. It's really hard to hold and draw. but to hold and write with. But nonetheless, cool looking. Clip is kind of fun. A little springy wall there. All right, so let's get into some other kind of interesting designs. These are pens that kind of, again, I tried to kind of organize these into some sort of a quasi theme, but I couldn't really do it because I've got too much crap. But these are kind of based on vehicles, and so this one is actually a smart pen, like by the Smart Car, the company that makes the Smart Car or the Stupid Car, however you want to look at it. Smart Car, very cool. The clip, as you can see, is massive. Oops, I unscrewed it. Yeah, I can't. Sometimes I can't remember. I have so many of these, I can't remember if they unscrew or pop off. This one pops off. But, this clip is absurd, but cool. And again, you can see kind of the car design influence in it. Actually, this looks 1,000 times better than the actual car. A steel nib. Nothing to write home about on that. Actually, a pretty good writer. A little tough to write with, though. Very small, again, for me. It's kind of hard to get my hand on it. And I just typically don't like posting my pens when I write. So there's that guy. A couple of other kind of vehicle inspired. This is a Delta Monza. Monza, I believe, I'm not a racing car person, but I believe it's a race in Italy. But again, just a unique pen to design with the clip here kind of in the middle. And unscrews, here's the nib. And you can post it like this. And so, again, it's a little awkward to use. The shape, the clip's kind of in the way. I believe this one has a cartridge or converter. Gold nib. Delta, these are, this is not a cheap pen. It's a limited edition. It's numbered here. You can see, you probably can't see on the number 308 of 922. How many in my collection do I actually use? That's a good question. I use them all when I buy them, because I have to test them and drive them. So at one point I've used them all consistently. Like, how many do I probably actually really use on like kind of a rotation? Probably 40 or 50, because I kind of have the ones that I just know and I like. And I get asked that a lot, and I really don't have a system. I've thought about trying to implement some kind of a system for rotating them, but I kind of just tend to gravitate back and forth to the same, probably again 30 or 40, maybe 50 that I kind of like. So yeah, it's a good question. I don't really have a good solid answer for it. I definitely have some that I hate. I mean, again, it's like this thing right here. I think I've only written with it once. It's terrible, but it's cool looking. So, okay, so back to this is another Delta Autodrono Nacional. So again, similar to the Monza, kind of in the design, kind of the clip in the middle of the pen. So again, makes it a little awkward. This one's very short without it being posted. But again, just, cool kind of Italian race car inspired design. It's something unique. Pretty pen. So those two kind of go together. These three are Ducati inspired pens. So take the So these two they're the same pen, just different color schemes. But these are designed to look like the gas tank on a Ducati motorcycle. So that's what these are. And then this one kind of is supposed to look like, I think, more like a brake, hand brake. But cool pens. These are metal, so they're heavy. These are quite heavy, actually. And so I don't actually mind heavy pens, but, some people really don't like heavy pens. So, but these are cool. I like the way the cap articulates on these. It's, the clip. Again, kind of the spring-loaded fun. So there's that one. And then this guy, again, he's metal also. It's quite heavy. Yeah. And again, you see I've got quite a few yellow pens. As I said, yellow is my favorite color. So there's those guys. I got to put my labels back on here so I don't make too much work for myself. A couple of other kind of unique pens here. Let me grab a couple of these. So this one is a Monteverde lip. They call these a lipstick pen, and you can kind of see why. Kind of shaped like a piece, shaped like a tube of lipstick. Again, similar to the Mont Blanc, the crank out nib. Pretty cool. Again, small little pen, has to be posted to be able to use it. The Monteverde symbol, little black mosaic body. This one is a Mocha Giuliani Mazzoli. This is designed after the Mocha Pot, the coffee maker. So you can see the shape if you guys are familiar with the Mocha Pot. It's directly inspired by that. Let's see. Yeah. This one's fairly recent, maybe within the last 2 years. I really like the red. Very small nib. So there's that guy. He's fun. Another kind of not odd, but unique, quasi-unique. I've got, this is Namiki Pilot. Again, the clip at the top, the button at the bottom, and this is a retractable nib. So it comes out. Again, a very small nib. This is a gold nib, very soft, really nice writer. And screws here in the middle, and it does have the cartridge, or the converter is part of the nib feed, so it doesn't actually come apart from the nib housing, or from the nib feed. And then you put it back in, it only goes one way, and it screws in like that. So again, this is a retractable nib. There's several of these. I've got it in 3 or 4 different colors. I think I've got a black and an orange, maybe a white one. I don't remember. Too many. These are a couple of Lamy accents, and the reason I got these to show was they're cool. That you can switch this little grip, or the little grip section here. So you take the cap off, you unscrew the feed, and then this thing just pops off. And you could put that one on this pen. They come in different colors. They got different patterns. So kind of a fun little extra in these pens. So yeah, Lamy accent. These are steel nibs, so not. Yeah, the vanishing point ones are very cool, and they don't seem to dry up. Pens don't seem to dry up when you have them out. Let's see. Yeah, so now to go to something slightly different. So these are, again, some of the these kind of go along with the Mont Blancs. This is a Parker Duofold. Again, remember the orange one we saw earlier from the 20s. This is a modern pen. This one's special because I did actually want this one, and my parents bought this for me when I passed my architecture exam in whatever year that was. What was it? 2005. So this is a really nice gift from my parents. It's a beautiful pen, gold nib, 18 karat gold nib. It's called the Mosaic. You can see the Mosaic designs are really pretty. Really pretty patterning, modeling there. And again, just a super quality, high quality pen. Parker Duofold. This is a Visconti Homo Sapien. got a cool, the way the cap does is pretty neat. It's going to be hard to see on the, but you turn it and it's spring loaded and it pops and releases. This one is a 18 karat gold nib. This is probably, it's in the top 3 pens I own as far as how magnificently it writes. I mean, it is just phenomenal. And this one again has this the internal piston, so you pull it out, depress it, pulls the ink in, screw it shut. Not a cheap pen. This has a rubberized body. This one will set you back a little bit. But I mean, again, top 2 or 3 in my collection as far as writers. This collection of these 3, these are Lamy Ladies, and these are says a set of 3. They were sold individually or as a set. I bought this one way back in the 90s in New York at Macy's, of all places. But a gold nib. This portion here is actually porcelain. It's hand painted. So they're not something you want to like fook around with. And so I had this one for years and years. I knew the other 2 existed, but they were pretty pricey, hard to find, really hard to find. So, several years ago, I went on a hard target internet search and I found the other 2. And so now the trilogy is complete, but, they're just beautiful. Again, this porcelain hand painted body, on these guys is very cool. This one's kind of the cow print with the black and gold. I'm not a super big fan of gold. I typically stay away from gold stuff. I usually like silver trim, but I mean, these, how could you not buy those, right? Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some of these what are called maker pens. These are not brand names. These are made by people. I've got a bunch of them, but I just grabbed a few that are here, kind of some of my favorites. So there's a guy named Patrick Ross. His company is Relic Pens. If you went to he's probably at the Arkansas Pen Show. He's definitely at the Dallas Pen Show every year. I think he lives in Virginia. But anyway, he's a history buff. He's a history guy. I think he's a former military guy, so he's a history buff. And a lot of his pens are historical kind of themed. This one is very cool. It's got a Union soldier uniform button on the finial of the cap, which is very cool. The pen itself is just really nicely made. He makes these himself out of resin, or I think maybe it's ebonite. They have either Jowo or Bock nibs on them, which are kind of standard steel nibs that are made for these maker pens. Nothing really exotic or fancy about them. They work really well. You can get a lot of different thicknesses, obviously, with them. But anyway, this one's cool. And these nibs do come out like this. A lot of these pens, you can unscrew the nib from the feed system when you want to clean them. Yeah, like that. All right. So there's that one. This one was also made by Patrick. This one is the finial on this is a piece of titanium from the SR-71 Blackbird. One of them. Again, and you can see the pen very, very avionic kind of feeling design. I love the black and the red. I love the text. I mean, it looks like a screen, like in the airplane. It's a really cool pen. Again, kind of same thing. I think this one's a Bock nib. I don't remember if it has a converter. Yeah, this one has a converter. So yeah, these are a couple of and his stuff's reasonably priced. I mean, mid 150s up to 200-300. He's got some pretty reasonably priced stuff. This one was made by so I'm a huge Cubs fan, And I bought a pen from this guy. It's called Roots and Jones. It's a grandpa and his grandson, and they make pens. And I think they're in Tennessee. Anyway, one day I posted something on opening day. I had my Cubs jersey on, and he messaged me and he said, "Hey, we have wood from the original bleachers at Wrigley Field, and we can make you a pen out of the wood from the bleachers, and it still has some of the green paint on it." And so they have several different cap designs and body designs and stuff. So he let me pick that and the cap, and then he made this. I say he made it for me. I bought it, but very cool. I love, obviously as a Cubs fan. Very cool. Original green paint from the original wood bleachers at Wrigley Field. And then this one is made by a French pen maker, Alexandre Dubois. I bought this in New Orleans last year. It's arboretum wood. You can see it's just beautiful. Let's see, I got a converter. Piper Parker, hey Piper, my niece. Thanks for joining. We're almost done, but all right, so we're gonna power through a few more here. It's been almost an hour. I hate if you guys have to stay on. I appreciate everybody joining real quick. Hey, go Cubbies! All right, Scotty H. See, man, there's Cubs fans everywhere. We grew up watching them on WGN. That's what I did. So these are a bunch of my Lamy Safaris that are kind of different things that I thought was interesting to show. They do a lot of these limited edition pens. This one's an Avengers. I could care less about Marvel or anything but Avengers. But it's cool. They release special colors. It'll have markings on them. They have these little clip accessories, these little rubber things that slip on and off the clip. So, again, as a collector, it's like I have to have all these. This one is a Starbucks limited edition. So you can see the little Starbucks logo there. This is, again, the thing that's cool about these is they're usually a color that is not one of the standard. Like there are no other Lamy Safaris that is this blue or this green. This is actually green, but so the only way to get this color is to buy these limited edition, special edition pens. And then this one is called the Lamy Joy. It actually comes with a calligraphy nib on it. So there's 4 or 5 different colors of this one that they make. And the body you can see is a little different than the regular Safari. It's longer, tapered. The rest of the pen is exactly the same as a regular Safari. I swapped out the nib to just a regular fine point nib because I don't like the calligraphy nib. But these are very cool. I actually like the body, the length of it, more than the regular one because it's just you can kind of hold it back here, when you're sketching if you want to stay nice and loose. So the Lamy Joy, pretty cool. And again, these are affordable. Then a few of the little more historic Lamys. So this one and this one, the terracotta orange and the Savannah green. These are 2 of the original colors from the Lamys that were made in the 70s. I think was when they started making the Safaris. The interesting thing about both of these, and I have a white one, a blue one, and a red one, and a black one that are the same vintage. But what's cool about these is you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not, they say they are stamped to West Germany. So pre-fall of the Berlin Wall. So, a little historical things, kind of cool. They actually did a re-release of these 2 colors last year. These are, again, quite rare and quite expensive, but they can be found. And then this one is a demonstrator. It is not marked West Germany. It's just Germany. So this is post, 1988 or 89. But it is a different pen. I don't know how this one is different than the demonstrators I've seen. And you can see it's yellowed considerably. So this one is quite old too. I don't know how old. Again, found it online. Don't know how old. But and then this is one I'll finish up with. This is a Lamy Safari. I found this one many years ago. when I started collecting the safaris, I saw a photograph of this one in a collection that somebody had. They posted it online. And I started doing some hunting. And, this is kind of early internet days, so it was a little clunkier to search for things. But I found out that these were made for a Swiss company. They only made like a handful of them. I don't know, a handful maybe means 20 or 100, I don't know. But they were just made for this Swiss company. And Swiss, whatever, that was their colors. This blue and yellow, again, looks very Swiss, right? Swedish. And so I was like, well, I have to have that, because why not? And so after a few years, one popped up on eBay, and I started bidding on it. And I chickened out at $800. This was 20 years ago. I chickened out at $800. I was like, I can't pay $800 for a pen. And then of course it sold and I didn't buy it. And then I kicked myself. I was like, God, man, I'll never find another one. And about 2 or 3 years later, one pops up on eBay again. And, I own it. So, I didn't chicken out, and I'm not going to divulge the total, because you'd probably think less of me. But anyway, I haven't seen one come up for sale since. So, I paid a lot for it, but it's mine, and someday my kids will have to figure out what to do with it. All right. Well, thank you all for watching, and hopefully it wasn't too boring. Hopefully maybe you learned a little bit of something. We can get deep into pen. I was going to talk a little bit about kind of care and cleaning, but I talked too long, so we'll save that for another time maybe. But thanks everybody for joining, and if you have any questions, you can message me. I'd love to answer your entertain your curiosities if you have any. So thank you, Chris. Thanks everybody for joining, and have a great rest of your night and whatever's left of your weekend, and stay warm. And as I always tell people, stay sketchy, my friends. Thank you all. Have a good night.